Hello and welcome back to Season 3 of the Fresh Finds Podcast, the show about discovering new music with good people. I'm Ryan, and joining me this episode is the Cacophony Kid himself, Nick Roswell. How you doing tonight,
Ryan?
man?
I'm good. I'm living the dream.
Hear. Hell yeah. So, do you want to take a little bit of time to introduce yourself and the kind of music that you make and just a little bit of background like that?
Yeah. I am Cacophony Kid. I'm Nick. I make like punk hardcore influenced electronic music is probably the best way I can describe it.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, genres are weird.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of, I don't know, it started out as like, my wife got an iPad, which came with GarageBand. And I've always, I don't know, like even in like high school with like my iPod Touch, I used GarageBand a ton. So I just wanted to make some tunes and I wanted to be able to listen to them. So I put them on Spotify and then just kept going. And then I changed my name because
I was going to bring that up.
It was never supposed to be really anything that I like pursued, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you had like a few singles and maybe an EP out before 5, which is your most, your first release that's still on Spotify.
Yeah.
And so I was, kind of curious about like the idea to rebrand and change some of the cover art and remove some of the earlier stuff from Spotify. Was that all just something that you felt like you were finally kind of going more professional with it, and so you wanted to have an image that matched that?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. I had a whole album basically called Music for the Wandering Mind, which was just like a bunch of just random shit that I had made. And it wasn't like cohesive, and it was just a bunch of like loops more or less. So yeah, I kind of just like got rid of that, kept 5, and then I'm just gonna go on. And I changed the art for 5, which I know you're upset about, but
I did really like the original art for 5. I like the new art for 5 as well. I think that it's cool, but the original, it was such a vibe, and that
I agree.
was
Especially B-sides. B-sides,
yeah.
I think, was better. And that was all natural blur, baby. I was driving down the road and it was blurry and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this fucking picture right here.
That's funny. So you've just released, as of recording this last Friday, so less than a week ago, the first single off of your upcoming, is it going to be an album or an EP?
Yeah, album, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so you just released that first single, which is called Goodbye All. And so do you kind of want to talk a little bit about that song and how it plays into the entire record?
Yeah, it's funny because I saw a tweet not the other day, like a couple months ago, but of somebody saying like, how do you instrumental artists come up with names for tracks?
Oh yeah, I saw that too, which is actually interesting because I was thinking about that too, and I have no idea because I don't write instrumentals.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to do with like the feeling that you're trying to portray in terms of like the theme of like I had a this is a great example. On my Music for the Wandering Mind, the LP I deleted, there was a song called Capitalism, and it was just a droning fucking like just a the entire time.
Just beating you down, basically?
Yeah. And I was just like, man, what does this sound like? And I was like, oh, it's like capitalism. So, I mean, it's kind of like that. And then Goodbye All got named Goodbye All because of the artwork. I mean, that's a Frisch's that's by my house. That's closed down for like a year now. And I don't know. I just think that's like, it's dilapidated. Which is kind of like the whole theme of like the album I'm going for. It's just like capitalism has gone so far that like it's just, we have to create like a new society basically because we're all just completely screwed. So I just thought that fit the theme. And then Goodbye All was in the little, like the advertisement box underneath the Frisch's sign, and I was
I thought that was put in after the fact as the name for the thing. That was like the thing went out of business. They put Goodbye All on the sign, and you went, oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, with all that weird spacing. Yeah,
I actually love that. I love that so much more now, knowing that it was there and that everything else is kind of like revolving around that. That's so much fun.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought it was a good like first single to put out, and I'm gonna put out more obviously from the album, but it's not close to done. So I got time.
Yeah, originally we were thinking that it was going to be close to coming out by the time that we got to this, but you've kind of hit some production hiccups, it seems like.
I just need a drum set is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just I like the way I create melodies is like based on drum parts. So like when I make a song, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like when I make a song, it's like I think about the drums first. So it's like, and then once I have like a drum beat, I kind of like whatever I'm accenting with my drum beat is kind of like where I build in the melody. And like same thing with like a bass line. Like I just base the bass line off of what I play with my foot more or less and then fill it in as you go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I mean, it's not how I start all the songs, but it's just a big part of it that where I can't do a bunch of crazy stuff with my fingers basically on a keyboard.
Yeah, no, I totally get that there's like a full body thing about like actually drumming as opposed to like doing like finger drums on like a keyboard or whatever that you just can't quite match the energy of it. I definitely get that.
Yeah, I mean, like even all the songs I have done, even Goodbye All is going to get retracked drums by the end of it. I mean, it's going to stay mostly the same for that song because that song was kind of...
That song was cool. I remember hearing some of the original like ideas for it and being like, oh yeah, those drums are cool. Because I think that one of the things that really draws me to your music is that it's like atmospheric, but it's got this like really heavy like you said, kind of like hardcore punk kind of like aesthetic to it, especially in the drums, that kind of like breaks up the vibiness of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that was, I don't know, like a huge inspiration for me is Angels and Airwaves. And I think they do a great job of like putting punk, if you want to call it that, which I want to call it that, and you know, that more electronic like Rush, U2 kind of ambient space thing. I just like that a lot. When I first heard Angels and Airwaves, I was like, holy shit, like this is music right here. Even Blink-182, like I love Blink-182, but I'm a all the side projects are better kind of guy.
Okay.
Than like the main Blink-182. So when they got back together, I was a little upset both times.
Yeah, if anybody follows you on Twitter, they know very well how you feel about the new Blink
I just
album
think it's a waste.
kind of the reunion.
I just think it's a waste of time. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. They could have done so much.
No, I agree. There was a lot of it that felt like it wasn't quite there. That was kind of half baked. I agree.
And then they brought out those two other songs are also bad. It's just
well, and the production's so overblown too. Like specifically the master just sounds fucking crushed.
Yeah, I don't know what he did, and I'm not a mixing wizard. Like I don't know what the hell I'm doing when I mix songs, but I listen to a ton of music, you know, and I know when shit doesn't sound right. And I was like, man, this just sounds crunched up and flat.
I always find it funny when people are talking about like production and they're talking about, oh yeah, well most people don't have the background in it, so they can't tell blah 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 blah. It's like, no, these people don't have the words to say what's wrong with something, but they can definitely tell when something sounds off.
Yeah,
you know, like
I mean, almost everybody can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are certain things like that are kind of an aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Like there's definitely something where some indie bands and stuff like that will specifically like their master sounds like it's pumping along with the kick drum a little bit. And it's like, that's not something that most people are going to notice and go, oh, that sounds bad. It's just kind of part of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've talked about this a lot on different episodes, but like how you can almost tell if a production quirk is like intentional or if somebody just like fucked up.
I remember you saying that. Yeah. Yeah, well, it was all intentional for Blink-182, and I think that's sad. Because like even like I know we keep talking about it, but even the song Terrified, which was originally a Boxcar Racer song, and you can tell it's a Boxcar Racer song, is bad because it's just like I don't know. I'd like to look at the
waveforms.
I'd like to look at I'd like to look because I guarantee you they're just.
Oh yeah, it's sausage patty all the way for sure. Yeah.
Which brings me to what else I was saying was that like Mick Gordon is a huge inspiration for me as well, and like what made me like think of like to go like Angels and Airwaves, but a little harder because he did the Doom soundtrack, and when I heard the Doom soundtrack for the first time, I was like, oh, like you can put electronic and metal and not have it be super goofy.
No, it's super hard. That entire soundtrack is so good.
It's so good. And then they screwed him over with Eternal, but whatever.
I still like, did you ever see it was him talking about the production of that soundtrack and the fact that, so if you pull up a visual analyzer of like the frequencies or whatever, you can kind of like play with it a little bit and like manipulate it. And it's, you can't hear this at all. Nothing sounds wonky. But if you put it into this like this analyzer thing, I forget what it's called. There was a track on on the soundtrack that said 666 over and over, and they didn't tell anybody about it. And then they're like, "This was discovered in the files."
Yeah, for real.
Proof that Doom is Satanism.
I don't know. Everybody, I never heard of Mick Gordon before Doom.
I hadn't either.
It's just interesting because everyone like, I don't know if it's exactly. I mean, I'm sure Doom has a bunch to do with it, but everyone acts like he is like the top of the top, and I've never really heard of him besides Doom. And I mean, I've heard of other stuff that he's done before and after that since Doom.
Yeah.
But I mean, watching that video, and if you just listen to like the way he, like if you'll watch the video where I guess it's probably the same video where he just plugs everything. He just does he plugs everything into modular in terms of his guitar and just makes it sound like that, which I don't know. I think it's cool, which is why that's a big inspiration for like the crunchy like synths that are similar to like guitar in a way, that have the same like crunchiness but not the same fluidity.
Yeah, I get that for sure. So I guess we can talk about the 5 and 5 B-sides. They're a couple months old, but they're definitely not like too old to talk about, you know.
No, they came out this year.
It feels like forever ago, weirdly, but I mean, yeah.
It's funny because even when I came out with B-sides, I felt like I put 5 out a while ago, but it was only like a week.
But yeah, I think that there's some really cool stuff that you've done on there. Specifically, I really love and I've mentioned this before to you directly, but I really love the sort of like atmospheric nature of a lot of the stuff that you do. Everything sounds like you're like creating a vibe, and then something else comes in that kind of interrupts that. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like you're having like designated sections as much as there's like a vibe, and then something moves you on to the next part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have I don't really know anything about making music in terms of like song structure or like, I mean, I took piano from third grade to sophomore year, and then I was in marching band freshman to senior. So like, you know,
so most of your like theory knowledge is more percussive then.
It's more percussive, and it's more like classical, and it's more like concert band based. And I mean, I've played some shows with some friends in terms of like live music in that sense. But in every song that I've tried to write has always been like a showpiece, like a marching band showpiece. And they have sections, but they don't have a verse, chorus, bridge, whatever.
It's not the same as like a pop song or a rock song.
So
yeah,
I don't know. I just kind of, whenever I just write music, it's kind of whenever I get not tired of it, but whenever I feel like it's gone on long enough, I kind of add something or take something away and switch it up, and then it usually works out pretty well. And I listen to a lot of like soundtrack, like video game, movie soundtracks. Like I said, Angels and Airwaves, Rush, all these bands have just super, whatever that word you just said was.
Atmospheric.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything I like is just has a bunch of space, and it's wide, and it's big. And I don't know. I just I want to just kind of bring the other kind of music that I like, which is like punk and metal and hardcore, into that kind of ambient space.
Well, and that's the thing that I think is cool, is that those do feel like such different things that bringing them together feels really fresh to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not the only one, because, you know, you got like Analog Heart and Super Destroyer that are both leading this kind of subgenre, maybe. I don't know. But those are two huge inspirations for me, too.
A lot of the Twitter homies.
Oh, yeah, all the Twitter homies. That's all the homies I got.
So one of my favorite songs of yours is from the B-sides, actually, and it's Hold Please. And you already know where I'm going with this too, which is that there's some really cool sound design, specifically with the percussion. The use of like the ratchet wrench is a really neat idea. So is that something that you'll like go in with like ideas for sounds, or was that something that you were just like, oh, this might sound cool here? Like was it more deliberate or something that just kind of came spur of the moment?
That was a spur of the moment thing where I felt like I needed to fill that space, but I didn't want just like another like beat, you know. I wanted something that like lasted a little longer, but wasn't it was percussion still, you know. So I thought first I was gonna do like I can't remember what it's called, but like the wow, 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 wow thing where you like,
oh yeah, the Vibraslap.
Yeah, Vibraslap. I was gonna do that first, but it's a lot, so I didn't do that. And I did the wrench, and it worked better.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something that fits in there, but it's like, yeah, it's got the percussive aspect of it. What are those things called that it's like? Is it like a Wiro or something like that, where it's like a frog or like a fish looking thing, and it's got ridges on it, and you like slide a stick across the ridges?
I don't know what that's called.
I think that might be what it's called, but I could be completely wrong too. But yeah, it kind of has a similar effect to that, but it's like more metallic sounding as opposed to like kind of woody. It's like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which makes sense for me in my opinion. Yeah, and a lot of like the like another huge inspiration for me is Woodkid, and he does
I'm not
a lot.
Familiar.
Well, he's one of my picks. So
perfect.
We'll get to that. But he does a lot with like percussion. And he does a lot of like classical meets electronic.
Okay.
So he has a lot of, he just fills the space with percussion. Like any empty spot will have like something in there. And I don't know, I think that's really cool, and I love percussion, and I just want to add more percussion because I don't know, man, you can make melodies with percussion. It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that's like the most basic, like simple idea is kind of like toms. You've got these different drums that are all tuned so that you can make like some sort of ascending or descending melody. But like you can even do that with, different kinds of, just different sounds in general. I think that it's neat sometimes to listen to, like, I don't know what it's called, but almost like sound collage type of music, where it's just a collection of sounds that create a rhythm, but there's not anything necessarily like melodic about it, and there's not necessarily anything like they're not all instrument sounds necessarily.
Yeah, it's like if you go out and you hear something out in the wild that's like, oh, you know what I mean, then like in that kind of way.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like not meant to be a melody, but it's making a melody.
Yeah, I think that it's cool to be able to hear like the musical aspects of like everyday things,
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same way that we all see faces in random stuff, We all see faces in random stuff. And we all hear music, and I don't know if it's all of us, but I can't help but hear like the timing of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you notice like a cool rhythm or something.
Yeah,
it's like
on like Rain or something.
Yeah, Rain does that a lot. Or like I really liked the I think it was the hi-hat for Bad Guy by Billie Eilish is like a crosswalk sound in like Australia or something like that.
Sweet.
I thought that was a really fun one too.
Yeah, I love using random things for instruments.
It's always super fun how you can like manipulate like other sounds to create different effects for music like that. Is there anything else that you specifically want to talk about with the upcoming project or about 5 that I didn't hit on?
No.
Okay.
I was thinking.
Gotcha. So before we move on to the next part of the episode, you're already sipping on your beer there, but
I'm sorry.
We're
about
both
done with it.
we're both fans of the craft beers, and so I thought that it would be fun if we completely blatantly ripped off the Beers with Bands podcast and talked about the beers that we're drinking tonight a little bit. You want to go first there?
Sure, yeah. So this is
right.
This is Fire Iron. It's from Urban Artifact. It's a local brewery out of Ohio. They only do fruit tarts.
Interesting.
And I hate fruit tarts except for this one, which is Fire Iron, and it is pink guava, banana, and passion fruit, and it's good, and I like it because it's not super sour.
Gotcha. So I currently have the Eastern Market Brewing Company. This is Opening Day American Cold IPA. I've never tried this before. Trying it for the first time on the pod, so that'll be fun.
I love me an IPA, and I will also just mention that this is 8.5%. So it's one and done.
This is only 5. It's actually for an IPA very
it's a
light
session IPA.
Yeah, except that it comes in pints, so you
so it's kind of not much of a session. Oh no,
that's
I'm more
good.
of a good.
I like that.
Probably can't get it. Probably can't get it in Ohio.
I think that they only distribute to the like Detroit metro area because this is a Detroit brewery.
Yeah, that makes sense. But anytime anybody mentions like on Twitter like any beer recommendations, I'm like this, and they're like, oh, I can't get that. I'm like, man, it's just strange to me how dumb alcohol like how that works.
Well, a lot of the craft beer,
that makes sense.
They only distribute regionally. It feels like unless you get to the point like
if they self-distribute,
yeah, because I mean you think of like New Belgium or somebody like that because that's like craft beer, but it's like they're owned by one of the like major like beer companies.
Yeah, I can't remember who, but yeah, because I work for a beer distribution company still.
Oh, so you didn't get fired?
No, I got told I was getting fired and then I didn't. So now
happy day celebration.
Now it's time to find a new job. But so when they take it back, you're like, okay, I got limited amount of time now.
There's time on the clock. All right, so moving on to the next part of the episode here. This is the main part here where we're going to share some tunes that we've been listening to. I'm going to go first, and we're going to go back and forth. So I'll have the first song, and you will have the closer.
Alrighty.
My first song, This is actually a really cool episode for me because almost all of the songs that I'm going to play tonight were directly submitted to me. They're not ones that I found.
Cool.
They're ones that people sent to me either in DMs or over email. If anybody watching this wants to submit their music to possibly be featured on the episode, that's freshfindspod@gmail.com or just send me a DM. But this one I got at the beginning of October. So I've been waiting for this release for almost a month, and it's by an artist called Racecar Bed, and they are an Irish producer who's worked with a few different hip-hop groups over there for a little while, and this is their first solo project. They started releasing some music earlier in 2023, and they have an upcoming EP that's, I believe, supposed to come out later this month called Clay Model. Also, you said, I believe you're a professional wrestling fan, correct?
Not current, but past, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know who any of these people are, so.
You will really enjoy a lot of the references in this song, I think. This song is called The Whole Damn Show.